Gonna do a video today. Over the weekend, I've had like quite a bit of communication related to sort of like spiritual guidance, ascended masters, and a lot of the stuff I'm getting sort of coming through is in relation to like the inner and the outer world, and how this relates to the third dimension and the fifth dimension. So 3D reality is very much like a physical and object reality. It's very much around the materialistic world and the outer world, which is everything we see outside. So it's like, you know, the physical world as we see it. However, what I've been drawn to and what they've been trying to sort of like say to me is that your inner world creates or projects out to create your outer world, but your outer reality. And this is very much around sort of like consciousness, and the more that your consciousness shifts, the more that your sort of like understanding shifts, and as your understanding shifts, then your reality will be shifted by how you what you create. But it's very, very, very important. I keep being sort of like directed to that you take time to create or sort of like or go within the inner world. And the inner world, when there's not like inner and outer because they're interconnected and they're interrelated. But what I'm trying for the purpose of this insight, we need to look at it as like a practical tool, and how do you use it as a practical tool. So what it is the outer world is very much around sort of like time. It's very much around sort of like having to achieve something, arrive somewhere, get somewhere. It's very much around sort of like the daily things that we see every day, where we're sort of like you're looking at your watch and you have to be somewhere. And the spirit world doesn't work like that, and it's not that it's like a linear thing, the time, but it's also an illusion. And it's very much they've sort of like been directing me to this over the last few days. They keep talking about something called flow as well, the flow of the universe, and this interrelates to how it opens up as a channel and energy starts to come in. But the flow is also another way of sort of connecting into source. But it all connects again into the universal laws. Like the universal law of correspondence talks about like your inner world creates your outer reality. So it's like it projects it out. So it's very, very important that we start to live, um, or live or not live. Is what they want to say is create from the inner world. So we need to think about that for a second and just let that resonate, because it's not about living from there, but it's creating. And this is the shift. This is the shift in consciousness. This is a shift in understanding that we're co-creators. And this is very much around what's happening now on the planet. And this is what's coming on with the new energies, the new frequencies, the new understanding, and the new wisdom that's coming through. It's very much around co-creation. And you start to realize that this is what source means. Source energy is this infinite source that's ever evolving, that never stops, that is infinitely changing and transmuting and transforming, and we're transforming and changing with that. Obviously, there's different sort of levels of consciousness and frequencies depending on how you've incarnated and what dimensional reality you're in. As we're on planet Earth at the moment, and planet Earth is a very sort of like a 3D reality, and that's why they're trying to shift it to a 5D reality. And the 5D reality is a shift in consciousness. It's an understanding that you're a co-creator, that you create, and you have source energy within you. So it's not the physical world is just like a blueprint that can be sort of created or manifested depending on how you use your thoughts and use your consciousness. So it's very much around that, and the fifth dimensional reality is very much around that. And in my belief system and my understanding, like heaven on earth is very much around this. People say heaven on earth. Well, heaven on earth is when you start connecting to source energy, you start to co-create, and you start to create a reality that is in line with what it means to be a spiritual being on this planet. And that's to me is heaven on earth, because once you awaken to that, then you're connected to the source again. So you're connected to your spirit, and you're connected to that source energy. So once again, you're aligned, you're in, you're open, and once that process starts again, that's to me is like the heaven on earth, because you know that you're connected. You're connected to this source energy. You're connected to these spiritual beings, these guides, angels, masters that are around you, and they're working with you. So you know that you're part of this infinite family. You're the infinite being of light, energy, and wisdom, and you start to awaken to that. And when you start to do that, then you start to realize that you can have what you want, or you can co-create what you want. There are obviously patterns and things that we are going through because we're in a physical body and we've incarnated for that reason, as souls do. But what I'm talking about is, waking up to this energy that we've got, that we can use to create and co-create within our lives. And this is what the fifth dimensional sort of frequency and these new energy frequencies are really bringing. Source energy is about co-creation, and this is why it's so important. And this is why they keep getting directing me to like the universal sort of laws and the universal law of compensation, which is very much around your inner reality create or projects or creates and manifests your outer reality. So it's really, really important. So taking time to meditate, to get into that space is where flow comes in. You have to open up that channel, you have to awaken to it, you have to start to align to it, and then you need to start to let this communication come in. And this is what's happening for a lot of people at the moment. We're starting to awaken to that, or we'd be given that we are, or I feel like we're being given those opportunities to awaken to it, and it's about us starting to do that. So it's really, really important. And I wanted to talk about time because I think I've been told, or guided over the last couple of days to really look at time, and that's the outer world. And I've been told to keep coming into the inner world. So every time that I feel like I'm being distracted or I've been directed to the outer world, I'm being told to come back into the inner world, into the center, and just sit in that source energy. And the more I can remain there, the more I'll be able to start to dissolve this attachment to like, you know, the outer world, which is very sort of chaotic. It's full of a lot of things that are chaotic. With politics, with news, with sort of like wars that are going on, the economy. There's loads of things going on at the moment. And money, constantly worrying about money, and all of it's outer stuff. And we need to go into the inner world, because once you go into the inner world, you find harmony, you find peace, you find wisdom, intuition, all those things. But also it sort of allows you to start to realize, it opens you up to, like I said, to this flow of the universe. And again, this is where you start to connect to your guides and your helpers and these celestial beings and these masters. And this is where you can start to create that sacred space, which is where the flow comes in. And then you can start to sort of really start to sort of flow with like the universe. But you also start to open up your co-creative ability, because you start to sit in a space where you start to open up. So the universe, so the information and the energy and the insight starts to come into your body, from the spiritual realms, and you can start to interpret it and receive it as a receiver, like as a channel, and then you can start to express it. And that's why you need to be in that inner sort of sanctuary, or that inner sort of place, that sacred space, to receive it. And again, meditation's one way of doing this, but it's about not being caught up in the outer world, because the outer world distracts us, and it ends up sort of taking us off our center. It doesn't ground us, it creates a disharmony. So it's very, very important. And this is where time comes into it as well, because we're sort of like, because of time, time is also, the issue with time is that when we're actually caught up in time, we've lost presence, and we've lost that moment. We're not in source anymore. We're in either like ego, or we're in fear, or we're being driven by external things, and we've lost that ability to create, and we've lost that ability to be grounded. So this is why we need to be in source, and we need to be in the inner energy, and the inner world. And once you're in that, it opens up your channel. So it's really, really important that you start to do this. And this is part of the shift from the third dimension, 3D reality, to the 5D reality, which is what I was saying was the shift from 3D, which is physical, objective, materialistic world, the outer world, to the shift of the inner world, which is more 5D, which is where it interconnects us with the source energy, and then it connects us with the spiritual realms and dimensions, our infinite being. And then we can start to then co-create from there, because we start to awaken to our source energy and realize that you're protected, that you're supported, that you're secure, and that you can trust that the infinite flow of the universe is working with you, because you're awakened to it, so you're aligned to it, so you're starting to then receive that information and that insight. And it's really, really important that we start to awaken to this. It connects, going in within connects to vibrations. It takes us to a higher understanding, a higher awareness. It connects us to the universal law of oneness, because it's very much connected to the fact that we're spiritual beings, and we're born of this source energy, and that we have a co-creative ability, and we're all interconnected with all beings of all dimensions, of all realms. It also connects to the universal law of correspondence, which is the inner world creates the outer world. The universal law of inspired action, which is very much around where you start to open up and receive that flow. You start to receive that information, then you can start to act upon it and express it as a spiritual being of light energy. It also connects to the universal law of perpetual transmutation, again, which is very much to do with Ascended Master Saint Germain, which is very much about dissolving, transforming, transmutating, moving from one state of consciousness to the next, one form to the next. As we start to move through transmutation, and our bodies become aligned more with these new sort of like codes, these new light codes, these new energy frequencies that we are all integrating within our energy fields and our energy systems at the moment, things will shift again. I don't know why, but I've got like they're making me cough a little bit, so I don't know whether I'm supposed to have said something then or not. But I feel like there's something coming, and my throat's been tickling now as I was supposed to have sort of said something. So if it's meant to come, it will come anyway. Again, that's about the trust. Yesterday I had something around acceptance. Acceptance is love, wisdom, understanding, balance, peace, harmony. Acceptance could be all those things. It's not a word, it's a frequency, it's a vibration, and it means many things to many different people. So there's loads and loads of things going on at the moment. So just take your time, but also don't get caught up in that external world. Take time to go to the internal world, and where you will start to open up, you will receive flow, and you will also be able to then connect to your own source energy. It's so important to do that. If you want to move into like a fifth dimensional consciousness and reality and higher, you need to connect into that source energy, because that is the energy of co-creation, and this is what the fifth dimension is all about. That's the insight for today.